Chapter 8. Selling Horses at Erxianzhuang Reveals a Hero. The poem reads, "The male and female horses, black and yellow, how could they be heroes? Without Sun Yang, who would appreciate their fine bones? They neigh sadly in their stalls, their breath rising like blue clouds. So much sorrow, the salt cart lingers on the Taihang road." Right tune, Diane Jiangchun. A fine sword, though sharp, cannot move the heart of a scholar. A fine horse, though excellent, is useless to a farmer. Even if a hero possesses earth-shattering abilities who recognizes or values him, they are even ridiculed. The two young men bowed to Wang Xiaoer and asked, "Is this Master Qin?" Xiaoer replied, "Indeed." The two said, "Brother Qin, please." Xiubao, unaware of the reason, went to the front of the hall to exchange greetings. The two sat down, with Xiubao taking the lead. Wang Xiaoer brought 3 cups of tea. After tea, Xiubao spoke up. "What advice do you have for me, second brother?" The two replied, "We are just lowly clerks in this prefecture. We heard that Brother Qin is an expert, so we came to offer our services." Xiubao asked, "What advice do you have?" The two said, "This Wang Xiaoer has been running a restaurant in front of our yamen for many years and has a reputation for honesty and integrity. We don't know how, in such a short time, he offended Brother Qin. They say you are upset with him, and we have come to apologize." Xiubao said, "I didn't say that. Where did this come from?" The two said, "They all say you are upset with him and refuse to pay some of your debts. If you really are upset, just pay him back the money. It's not difficult to deal with him. If you don't pay him back the money, it gives us an excuse." Xiubao, being a man of principle, was easily fooled by their commotion and realized that they were just smooth talkers sent by Wang Xiaoer. "I'll just tell you the truth, my two brothers. I don't blame the couple, it's just that I'm penniless, and I have some travel expenses with a friend named Fan. He's going to Zhejiu to submit a letter, and he'll come back soon to settle his shop debts." The two brothers said, "Brothers, most of your friends from Shandong are capricious. By the time you see that friend, you'll have eaten your fill before you can wait. It's hard to expect him to run a restaurant. If you continue to serve him as before, you won't have enough capital. If you neglect him, he'll say the restaurant is fickle and fickle. If customers are like tigers in the mountains and word gets out, not a soul will come and the restaurant will be out of business. As the saying goes, it's better to rely on yourself than to rely on others," said Uncle Bao. "If my friend Fan doesn't come for a year, can't we just wait a year? My brother is from the yamen. If he doesn't return, they'll arrest him and there will be a huge commotion at home. You have to be resourceful." Uncle Bao, as if waking from a drunken stupor, said to the two men, "Thank you for your advice, brother. I won't wait for my friend Fan. I have 2 gold-plated maces. I'll sell them to pay off the inn's debt and use the rest for my return journey." The two men called to Wang Xiaoer, "Brother Xiaoer, Master Qin doesn't blame you. He'll sell the gold-plated maces to pay you back for your meal. You must continue to serve him as before." Without exchanging names, they waved goodbye and left. It was as if the caged pigeons and minas can be tamed, but the water dragons cannot fly. Xiubao went to the back to tidy up his gold-inlaid maces. Wang Xiaoer suddenly had a wicked thought. That cunning Qin fellow has 2 gold-inlaid maces, but he won't sell them soon. He's waiting for me to have someone say a lot of nonsense before he'll make a move. Don't let him sell them, lest someone else gets a bargain. I'll trick him into thinking they're in Lezhu, pay him back his silver, and send him on his way. Then I'll add some interest, redeem them, and use the gold to make jewelry for my wife and me. We can sell the rest of the gold. Our fortune will all be in these gold-inlaid maces." Smiling broadly, he went to the back. Xiubao sat on the straw mat, placing the 2 maces across his lap. They were tinged with bronze. These maces weren't originally pure gold. They were made of refined bronze with gilded surfaces. They had been passed down from his grandfather Qin Su to his father Qin Yi, and had been passed down to him for 3 generations. Hanging beside the saddle, the gold on the mace had all worn away, leaving only a faint trace of gold in the grooves. Placed on the straw mat, The damp ground gave it a bronze-like patina. Uncle Bao, realizing he was no expert in divination, could only take a handful of straw and wipe away the bronze-like patina, making it shine brightly again. Wang Xiaoer, only knowing how much gold was on it, said blindfolded, "Master Qin, don't sell this mace." Xu Bao asked. "Why not?" Xiaoer replied. "I have a pawn shop called Longmao in Lezhu, specializing in pawning miscellaneous items. Master Qin, you can use this mace to pawn a few taels of silver to buy some firewood and rice. We'll settle for the lower price, and I'll serve you. When Lord Fan from Pingyang arrives, we can redeem it with some interest." Xu Bao, also reluctant to sell 2 gold maces to others, was willing to pawn them, replying to Xiaoer, "What you see is exactly what I want. Let's go pawn it together." They went with Wang Xiaoer to a wealthy family's house in Sanny Lane. Inside the black latticework door, a sign read Longmao Pawn Shop. They went straight in, placed the mace on the counter, a bit too heavy, and the owner showed some displeasure. "Hey, don't break my cabinet," Uncle Bao said. "I want to pawn it for silver." The owner said, "This kind of thing can only be considered scrap copper." Uncle Bao said, "It's my weapon, how can it be called scrap copper?" The owner said, "If you can handle it, then it's a weapon. We've sold it all, we have no other use for it, so we can only melt it down to make tools and sell it. Isn't that scrap copper?" Uncle Bao said, "It is scrap copper." They took a large scale to weigh it, and the 2 maces weighed 128 caddies. The innkeeper said, "Friend, we still need to deduct some losses." Xu Bao replied, "The mace isn't even worth the gold, so what losses are there?" The innkeeper said, "It's just the price of gold, how can that be accounted for? Besides, those 2 targets aren't even worth the copper price. They were burned to ashes when the copper was smelted. Now they're made of ironwood, which feels heavy." Xu Bao generously said, "Deduct the extra 8 caddies and make it a full 120 caddies." The innkeeper said, "The copper comes from Lezhu. Good copper is worth 4 fen per caddy. It should be 5 liang, 2 kaian short, not a fen more." Xu Bao calculated that it would cost 4 or 5 liang of silver, which he would eat in a few days, and since he couldn't return home, he would take it back anyway. The waiter was already somewhat displeased. Xu Bao returned to the inn and sat in his room, puzzled. The world is full of eyes, who can distinguish rare treasures. Therefore, heroes and valiant men often fade into obscurity. Wang Xiaoer, as if pressing for his life, came in again and said to Xu Bao, "Old man, find something else of value to pawn." Xu Bao said, "Brother Xiaoer, you're so naive. In the officialdom, besides my weapons, do I carry any gold or jewels with me?" Xiaoer said, "I don't care about you, old man." Xu Bao said, "Is anyone interested in this yellow horse I ride?" Xiaoer said, "Master Qin has stayed at my house for several days and has never mentioned such a thing." What talk of a gold-plated mace? I'm from Lezhu, I'd mistake real gold for fake, how would I know of any useful weapon? As for horses, we live on dry land here, big or small. Everyone has the strength to walk. I see that Master Qin's yellow horse is quite capable of walking. If you're willing to sell, when can we go home first? All official business is finished." Xu Bao asked, "Is there money coming in right here?" The waiter replied, "Money comes in as soon as the horse leaves the house." Xu Bao asked, "Where is the horse market here?" The waiter said, "It's on the main street inside the west gate." Xu Bao asked, "When do we go?" The waiter said, "The market opens at dawn and closes at daybreak." The waiter told his wife, "Prepare dinner for Master Qin. Tomorrow at dawn we're going to sell the horse." Xu Bao was very anxious that night, fearing he would miss the horse market. Another day passed. He was on tenterhooks, waiting until dawn to get up, wash his face with some cold water and comb his hair. The waiter lit a lamp and led the horse out of the stable. Xu Bao looked at the horse and exclaimed, "Oh dear, the horse is starving here." If the man was treated so coldly, the horse must be in a terrible state. Since the accounting was done, not only was there no fine feed for him, but even coarse feed was gone, and the horse was so hungry it neighed at the manger. The woman, kind-hearted but unable to chop grass, secretly stole 2 bundles of long-haired grass from her husband and threw them into the manger, leaving the horse to eat or not. This turned what should have been a magnificent steed into a mangled mess, with pierced hooves, a bulging belly, and long hair. Xiubao dared not speak out, though furious. If he said, "My horse is starving," the scoundrel would surely think, "If even people aren't eating, what about the horse?" He could only pull the bridle and lead the horse outside. Wang Xiaoer opened the door, and Xiubao went out first, but the horse refused to leave, as if it knew its master intended to sell it. How could the horse know it was being sold? This divine steed was a spirit beast. It knew it was already past dawn. If it were going home, it would have been saddled, bridled, and baggage packed by midnight. Leading a stable horse out, unless it was to drink water, there was no reason to lead it to drink at dawn. The horse braced its front legs against the threshold, then sat down on its hind legs. If it were a man of great strength, Xiubao could have dragged even a tiger out, let alone this sick horse. Seeing how thin and weak the horse was, he couldn't bear to use force to pull it, only letting out soft, weak whimpers. Wang Xiaoer, however, was a heartless man. Seeing that the horse wouldn't go out, he picked up a door bolt and struck the thin horse's hind legs 2 or 3 times, causing the horse to leap out in pain. Xiaoer slammed the door shut, saying, "You can't sell it, don't come back." Now let's talk about Xiubao leading his horse to the Western market. The horse market was already open, and noblemen and young masters came and went in an endless stream, watching the horses gallop by in a chaotic throng. Several people saw Xiubao leading a horse and called out, "Everyone, make way! A poor man has brought a sick horse. Don't bump into him." They were being mischievous, their mouths agape. Xiubao led the horse around the market, stumbling several times, but no one paid him any attention. He sighed to the horse. "Horse, when you were hunting thieves in Shandong, how strong and vigorous you were. How have you fallen so low today? How can I blame you? What kind of person am I? I'm reduced to such a state for a few taels of silver in shop bills. How much more so you?" As the saying goes. When a person is poor and lowly, their voice is low. When a horse is thin, its mane long and it doesn't appear fat. A cat with food is worse than a tiger. A parrot with broken feathers is worse than a chicken. At first, it was the man who led the horse. Later, it was the horse that led the man. He hadn't slept all night and got up at dawn, going out on an empty stomach. No one paid him any attention at the horse market. He was practically dozing off as he walked. As dawn broke, he passed the horse market, where the city gates were wide open, and farmers from the countryside were carrying firewood to sell. Luzhu, in what is now Shanxi, harvests only from stalks. Other grains would wither and dry after harvesting, but this kind was vibrant, with green leaves still clinging to it after the harvest. The horse was starving. Seeing the green leaves, it lunged forward, knocking the old farmer selling firewood to the ground. Xiubao awoke as if from a dream and rushed to help him up. The old man, though old, was strong and quick, jumping up and saying, "Friend, don't worry, you didn't hurt me." At that moment, the horse was munching on the green firewood and couldn't resist the reins. The old man said, "You're leading this horse around without riding it, walking slowly. Are you trying to sell it?" Xiubao replied, "Even if I were, I'd like to find a customer here." The old man said, "The horse's sturdiness is a bit bruised, but the reins are still fine." Just as Xiubao was feeling down, he was delighted by the old man's words. A stroke of luck for a discerning eye. The herds of horses in northern Hebei have finally been cleared. Xiubao asked the old man, "Are you a whip wielder or a veterinarian?" The old man replied, "I'm neither a whip wielder nor a veterinarian. I'm 60 years old this year and live 15 li from the city. These 4 bundles of firewood weigh over 100 jin, and I carried them into the city without even switching shoulders. Your horse lightly bumped into the firewood, and I stumbled, which tells me the reins are in good condition. It's just a pity you don't know the way and ended up in the horse market. Those who buy horses in this market are the kind of people who can't wait to be poor." Xiubao laughed and asked, "What do you mean by can't wait to be poor?" The old man said, "Anyone. A wealthy young man. Before even buying a horse, will have his servants carry a saddle and bridle and follow him. He'll only buy it if he sees a horse with fine coat, puts on his own saddle and bridle, and is satisfied. Why would he buy your sick horse and raise it? There's an old saying, to buy gold one must go to a knowledgeable merchant. How can you expect to find a sick horse here? You could walk for days and no one would even look at it. Shu Bao said, from what you've said, are you taking it somewhere to sell? The old man said, I only need to sell firewood. If I weren't selling firewood, I'd lead you somewhere and someone would buy the horse. Shu Bao said, selling firewood is a small matter for you. If you lead me to sell this horse, I'll give you a tael of silver as a broker's fee after the deal is done. The old man, hearing this, was overjoyed and said, 15 li west of here, there's a man named Shan Xingxin, the second son in his family. We all call him Second Master Shan. He befriends heroes and buys fine horses to give to his friends. Shu Bao, as if waking from a drunken stupor, secretly regretted his actions. I was careless. At home, I often heard friends say, Shan Xingxin of Urxian village in Luzhu is a generous and magnanimous man. Why didn't I go and pay him a visit when I got here? Now, he was dressed in rags, his face like a swan's, his body like a dove's, yet he went to pay his respects. Wasn't that too late? It was like digging a well when thirsty. Regret was futile. If he didn't go to Urxian village and cross this ferry, there was no way to cross by boat. What would he do? Well, he thought, he'd just sell the horse and not make friends with those who admired him. Old man, lead me there. If I sell the horse, I'll give you a tael of silver. The old man, greedy for a generous reward, left 4 bundles of firewood at the tofu shop's door, calling to the tofu seller, please look after this for me. He carried a blue cloth bag on his carrying pole, containing a liter of soybeans, which he had brought to town to exchange for tea. Seeing the horse was very hungry, he poured the soybeans into a deep ditch, gathered some firewood, mixed it with the soybeans, and gave it to the horse to eat. The old man led the way with his carrying pole, and Shu Bao led the horse out the west gate. After about 10 li, they indeed came to a large village. How could they tell? They saw. A clear stream meandered around it, and ancient trees cast deep shadows. A clear stream meanders, teeming with fish. Ancient trees cast shadows, their chirping filling the air. A small bridge spans the stream, its beauty serene and tranquil. Tall buildings reach for the clouds, their grandeur impeccable. If not an old aristocratic family, it must be a prestigious clan. Old Zhuang, carrying his carrying pole, crossed the bridge into the village. Uncle Bao tethered his horse under a tree south of the bridge. Seeing how thin and emaciated the horse was, he thought to himself, do not do to others what you would not have them do to you. If I don't even want it, how can I expect anyone else to buy it? Because he had been listless for days, he hadn't taken it to drink water or eat its fill, and its mane and tail were matted together. Uncle Bao had no choice but to roll up his left sleeve, press it against the saddle, and use his right hand to gently part the horse's mane. The horse, afraid of the pain, turned its head, looked at its master, its nostrils flaring and tears welled in its eyes. Uncle Bao felt a pang of sorrow. Ignoring its mane and collar, he patted its neck twice with his palms, saying, Horse, oh horse, you've been like my servant. Your fame throughout the 6 prefectures of Shandong is all thanks to your strength. Today my luck is bad, and I'm selling you to this estate. You look back with reluctance, yet I have the heart to sell you. I'm not even as good as you. Seeing its master patting its neck in instruction, the horse seemed to want to speak. Its 4 hooves kicked and it neighed repeatedly. Uncle Bao sighed deeply under the tree. It was truly. His might eclipsed the ambitions of the masses, leaving only his talent to endure. Ashamed that no one has groomed him, he raises his head in sorrow. Meanwhile, at Xingxin's wealthy home, after the autumn harvest, he sat idly in front of the hall. Seeing the old man holding a carrying pole outside the window, he entered and said to the wealthy man, This old man went to town to sell firewood and saw a Shandong man leading a yellow horse to sell. Although the horse is worn out, the reins are still strong. He's leading the horse outside the village now. Please take a look, sir. Xingxin asked, Is it a yellow horse? The old man replied, "It is indeed a yellow horse." Xingxin got up, and his attendants followed him out of the village. Xiubao looked across the stream and saw that Xingxin was about 10 feet tall, with a face like a spirit official, wearing a black turban with a swastika pattern, fine silk-pleated clothes, and black boots with pink soles. Xiubao himself looked at himself and thought he didn't look like a good man at all. He hid behind a big tree, washed his hands, shook his sleeve, and wiped the tears from his face. Xingxin crossed the bridge, only looking at the horse, not asking the man. Xingxin was good at recognizing good horses. He rolled up his sleeve and pressed his left hand against the horse's waist. Xingxin possessed the greatest strength, yet the horse, though muscular and robust, remained completely still. It was over 10 feet long from head to tail, and 8 feet tall from hoof to mane. Its coat was entirely yellow, like finely curled golden threads, without a single blemish. The horse's wonder lay precisely in this. Galloping 1,000 miles, stirring up dust, a divine steed capable of traversing the northern sky. Breaking the reins, shaking the jade bridle, a golden dragon soaring down from the 9th heaven. After inspecting the horse, Xingxin greeted Xiubao and asked, "Did you sell this horse?" Master Shan, thinking him merely a horse trader, didn't treat him with courtesy, addressing him simply as you and me. Xiubao, however, recognized the horse as the seller, not the trader, replying, "I'm not a horse trader. I sold it to you at a poor shop because I was on my own." Xingxin said, "I don't care if you bought it for yourself, just tell me the price." Xiubao replied, "I'm poor and my goods are cheap, so I dare not ask for a price. I'll only give you 50 taels, enough for your travel expenses." Xingxin said, "50 taels isn't much for this horse, but it's overweight. If I feed it well and use some money, it can be kept healthy. But without good feed, this horse is useless. Seeing how pitiful you are, I'll give you 30 taels as travel expenses." Xingxin returned the 30 taels, turned, crossed the bridge, and went inside, not particularly eager to buy it. Xiubao had no choice but to cross the bridge and say, "It's up to you, sir." Xingxin entered the manor and stood before the eaves of the main hall. Seeing his master standing before the eaves, Xiubao could only stand beside the platform. Xingxin ordered his men to lead the horse to the manor and bring some fine feed to report back. A short while later, a man whispered to his master, "This horse is fierce. It even bit the ear of your rouge horse, ate a whole bushel of steamed mung beans, and is still stealing water and grass from the trough, never stopping." Xingxin was secretly pleased and feigned goodwill, saying, "Friend, my men say the horse won't eat fine feed anymore, but I promised you 30 taels of silver and I can't go back on my word." Xiubao, unsure whether the horse would eat feed or not, casually replied, "As you wish." Xingxin went inside to collect the horse's price. Xiubao, however, was not one of the servants below. He entered the hall and sat down. Xingxin, having acquired the magnificent steed for 30 taels of silver, came out beaming with joy. Xiubao, having not seen silver for a long time, saw Xingxin emerge with a bag of silver, much to his delight, though it was only about the same weight. Was Xiubao so narrow-minded? He was a filial son, long confined to his inn, missing his elderly mother day and night. Seeing this silver, he could finally return home, as if seeing his mother again, without realizing it. Joy radiated from his brow, and a smile bloomed on his cheeks. Xiubao took the silver with both hands. Xingxin, assuming the purchase was complete, didn't want the silver to remain untouched and asked Xiubao politely, "Brother, you are from Shandong. Which prefecture is yours?" Xiubao replied, "Kizhu." Xingxin then slipped the silver into his sleeve. Xiubao was greatly surprised, thinking he hadn't bought it, and was utterly perplexed. It was truly. One cannot know a man's heart without knowing his face. Even with gold in hand, one fears it will vanish. What was Xingxin's intention in slipping the silver into his sleeve? Let's find out in the next chapter.